much did you give me?
And we are live on the PHU Dynasty podcast. This is episode 74. And tonight we're going to be bringing you our preseason league survey results. Originally, I thought we were going to do preseason and winners and losers, and decided that it would just be too long for tonight. So we'll split that off into next week. We have quite a schedule next week, Sean. We got our redraft dynasty league, or I'm sorry, redraft dynasty draft. We have the debate night podcast hopefully happening next week. Season starting right around the corner, Sean. It's a great time of year. We even seeing some pre-cut trades today and yesterday.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I got in on the action this week.
I saw that. Brick killed a guy. There's a lot going on in our league. I know there's going to be a flurry of cuts. I'm always, my favorite part of this whole thing every year is how close can we get to the first game without cutting anybody? Because there's always like one team that waits till the very end.
7:55 p.m. Thursday, September 5th.
You have to set your lineup now, so you have no other choice. But yeah, it's always fun to see. And then of course there'll be the wave of pickups and cuts after the NFL 90 and 90 man roster and set down to 53. So that'll be fun as well. All right, Sean, we got a lot to get to. So let's start with our preseason survey. We ended up collecting 9 of 10 results. We had one that we just couldn't get in time for the video, so we're just going to go ahead and do it with the 9 votes. So take that into account when you see all the vote counts here. Starting off with which team will win the championship, Sean? This is kind of the ultimate question in the league, and the league seems to think that the Cheese Fries and Lionheads have the best shot. Cheese Fries with 4 votes, Lionheads with 3, Armadillos with 1, and the Muskrats got a vote. And I will say, after looking at the results, I think somebody might have been drinking their own Kool-Aid when they made some of these votes. There's quite a bit of Muskrats you'll see throughout the slides here. So I'll let you do with that what you will. But yeah, I mean, I voted for the Lionheads here, Sean. I think they have some really good running backs, and this league has always been driven off of running backs and running back depth specifically. I think this team has the best chance from that standpoint. I'd like to see how the receivers hold up, but I just feel like maybe the Cheese Fries are maybe 1 year early, perhaps, and the Lionheads might have a shot as well. So, and then whoever voted for me, thank you very much. But I don't know if we're going to win it all, but we would love to contend. We'd love to be there. So Sean, what do you think of these?
Other than the one, I don't see a big argument there. I will try not to be offended that I have the second highest win odds, so I'm not on there, but I don't really care that much. I like the surprise.
He'll come up here in a couple of slides, I'm sure. So Cheese Fries, Lionheads, Super Bowl battle, if you will, and we'll see if we can get there. But those are the 2 I would definitely have voted for out of the 10 teams total. Next is which team has the best quarterbacks. Your Texas Armadillos have 5 votes. The Plague received 2 votes. The Bombers received a vote. And the Muskrats, you'll see a lot of Muskrat as we go through this list. I should have probably prefaced all of these with outside of your own team who has the best quarterbacks. But then that wouldn't be fair.
You would think that would go without saying, but whatever.
Well, it's pot stirring hour. So anywho, so my team, I feel like I've accomplished pretty much what I choose to, or what I'm trying to set out with quarterbacks pretty much every year. Is I like to have a locked and loaded starter. I like to have a safe-ish backup, and then usually some sort of up and coming guy as the third guy. And I think I've achieved that with Jalen Hurts being the solid starter, Caleb Williams kind of being that developmental guy, and then Purdy being that QB2 that's kind of like rock solid. So I'm pretty happy with that. It seems like a few other people agree with that. And then with the Plague, having Josh Allen as your QB1 is always a great thing.
So he's got 5 quarterbacks on his roster too. So that doesn't hurt.
He's also very deep. 5 total starters as of right now, with Darnold joining the squad as well. So pretty good there. And then the Bombers, I mean, frankly, just top 3 wise, they're pretty set. I mean, they have Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, and Tua Tagovailoa. That's pretty amazing trio there. It's tough to maybe know who to start week to week, but depth wise, they're very set. So I think they should have got at least 1 or 2 more votes probably with that kind of depth. Who did you vote for? Do you remember, Sean?
I think I voted for you. I
Okay.
think
I
just how
was gonna try to think of something different.
no, I mean, you've got a top three guy, and then I think outside of like the top, I think you had like my QB like 13 and 14 or 12 and 13 also on top of Hurts. So if I remember correctly,
Yeah, I
so
mean Williams and Purdy kind of both fit in that 10 to 15 range for me right now.
mhm.
Just because I mean Purdy's might just have a down year in general, and then um, Caleb Williams just he could be awesome and be a top 5 guy. Wouldn't surprise me one way, or it could maybe be closer to 15. But he's gonna have a rushing floor too.
Starting to lean towards Purdy having to put up a little more numbers this year, just like with the way their like off season has gone, just kind of feels like not like a season from hell, but like they're not going to be like ahead in as many games as they've been like the last 2 years kind of season, and he's going to have to like kind of
He's gonna have to throw more.
yeah, push down on the throttle a little more, do a little more this year.
Yeah, I mean, I will say as much as I like Purdy, just so much of that offense is just guys running wide open over the middle. It's
Yeah.
just it's unbelievable the spacing and picks they use, and
I mean,
it,
you saw what he looked like in that preseason game when none of the guys were playing, so
right.
it looked tough. And I guarantee, like, granted, like most quarterbacks without all of their starters would look pretty bad, but he looked like he did not know what to do.
It'll be interesting to see how that holds up as the season starts here. Next up on the list, we have which team has the best running backs. The Lionheads receive 5 votes here. Cheese Fries receive 3. Battle Axes pick up a vote. This is one where Muskrats did not show up. But the Lionheads, I do agree. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like just have a very deep running back room with Bijan, Isaiah Pacheco, Jonathan Taylor, and I forgot the last guy on the list, but
Montgomery, I think.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh, Montgomery, you're right. Yes, and then picked up Ray Davis as well earlier in the offseason. So I really like that move as well. So I think they're going to be pretty set at running back. The Cheese Fries also have a very good running back room. Brees Hall, Jameer Gibbs at the top. It's very hard to argue. I think a little bit deeper as well with the veterans having James Conner, Josh Jacobs, and then Rashad White, of course, being very solid. So, I mean, you could have gone either way with the Lionheads or Cheese Fries. Sean, who did you vote for here? And then mention maybe the Battle Axes too.
I went with the Lionheads. I'm pretty sure. I just like those top two guys. I think are just both somehow like values this year, even like amazingly. I think I've made my feelings pretty known that Bijan's like a 1A, 1B kind of guy for me this year. And then I honestly think Taylor is like right after those top three guys. I think he's like pretty clearly fourth to me, which is still great.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor, I think he's going to be very good this year in that RPO style offense. So, which team has the best wide receivers? The Cheese Fries take 5 votes here. Bombers take 2. Long Gamers, you pick up a vote here. Armadillos get a vote as well. There's just a lot of good receivers total on all these teams, to be honest. I feel like some are a little more top heavy, some maybe a little bit more deep. Like I feel like my team is pretty deep at receiver, but not really kind of on the top end of those receivers as well. So I feel like I offer a different thing. You have very, very good top 3 receivers. I think I may have voted for you or the Bombers just because I really like the Bombers set up with Jamar, Marvin. I think it's a really good top 2 there. So where'd you go with the receivers?
I think I went with the Cheese Fries, but I do respect the 2 votes for the Bombers. Marv just getting those votes without playing in the NFL yet. It's spicy.
It is amazing.
But I tried not to vote for myself. That being said, I feel like I've got 2 of the top 3 receivers this year in redraft on my team still. So I would have, liked another vote or 2, to be honest.
I mean, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, and then I think it's just kind of a projection on, where do you sit with London? And if London is that top 15 guy, then sure, I'll give you that vote all day long.
Yeah, but I'm shocked I didn't get James's vote for this one.
All right, next up on the list, which team has the best tight ends? Armadillos get 4 votes. Muskrats get 2. Bombers get 2. Battle Axes pick up a vote. Muskrats, we'll start there. Picking up Sam Laporta last year in the deal, obviously a great thing.
Is this his first legitimate vote that he got?
This it could be. I would assume he voted for himself and then maybe one extra, so we'll give him that. The problem is he only has Okonkwo as his backup, so I'm not like loving any of the depth here. So I mean, if
Mhm.
Laporta goes down, I mean this is kind of the story of Alex's team. If anybody goes down, it's over. But with their tight ends, it would be a huge drop off from Laporta to basically nothing. So I don't think I voted for him on this one. The Bombers also have a very nice tight end room. Hawkinson, Kyle Pitts, Ben Sinnott, uh, Parham and Hudson. So I mean, those are three really good ones there.
It's
Sean, do you?
team too. That's nice.
Yeah,
That's
what do you think about Sinnott? I mean, he looked pretty good in that first
I,
game.
I like where he's sitting a lot more now that Dotson's gone. I think
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
big
I
deal.
mean he might get that like McBride treatment behind Ertz like he got in Arizona. So it might not be like a quick like ascension, but I think it's gonna happen. He's looked good when he's been on the field so far in the preseason. So it just might be like a typical tight end. You might have to wait like a year and a half before you really see the breakout, but it's definitely there. He's an athletic freak. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and I like to, like you mentioned, vacating some targets out of there with Jahan Dotson going out. Might give him some more opportunities here as a rookie. So I'm a big fan there. Battle Axes pick up a vote here. Good tight end room for sure. I mean, George Kittle, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, very solid trio of tight ends there that you can pretty much start all three if needed. And of course, Kittle has top end upside every year depending on health. So I'm a big fan of that. And then the Armadillos pick up 4. I'm pretty happy with my tight end room right now. Obviously, with Kincaid kind of vaulting up a little bit in the rankings from last year. Turd Ferguson, Steady Eddie, going to get his targets and catches. And then Bowers is kind of like the upside wild card for the season. I'm not expecting huge things out of him, but as my third tight end, I'm totally fine with that. So,
and
um,
long term projecting like probably a
right.
top 3 dynasty tight end asset, I would assume.
I haven't looked at the rankings recently, but I would be pretty surprised if he was outside the top 5. That's for sure. For right now, I mean, he's just so talented, and I think once he gets out there and is at full health again, like he's gonna be a problem. The problem is he's got such terrible quarterbacks throwing to him, so it might
Yeah.
take a while.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's keep moving here. Which team has the best defense, special teams, and kickers? The Lionheads pick up 5 votes. Battle Axes pick up 3. The Muskrats get a vote as well.
That one he actually might deserve. Does he is like the Cowboys and
Cowboys, Dolphins, Patriots, pretty good.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I think he deserved his vote even if he voted for himself. So,
the one that I'm going to argue, but I'm pretty sure I went with the battle axes just for the vibes of having 11 defenses.
yeah, he's got 6 defenses and 3 kickers, 9 roster spots out of 30 devoted for defense special teams. I love it. So I mean, but he does have quite a few options, a couple really good options too, like the Jets. And the Buccaneers have been very good. So, I mean, love that. And then obviously having the top kicker is always a great thing. But the Lionheads really have just the best trio of like defenses that you could have just in general in the history of football. Maybe not so much the Bills, but they're so solid overall every year. And with McDermott there, he's always going to make something work. But Ravens, Steelers, Bills. And then, of course, Justin Tucker, the eternal great kicker. So I think it's very hard to argue any of these votes, really. But where would
Underrated
you go?
strategy of taking teams that play in shitty weather a lot on
Yeah,
defense.
I mean Browns. That's another one. Like anybody in the North, basically, that doesn't have a
Yeah.
dome. Yeah, I mean, like that's pretty much any cold weather football, rainy football, stuff like that. All right, next up on the list, which team is most likely to outperform expectations? And it is the Kentucky Elk receiving 4 votes, Bombers getting 2 votes, Muskrats getting a vote, Lionheads getting a vote, and the Battle Axes getting a vote. Yeah, I mean, the Elk, I mean, obviously the trade recently may have altered the way people think about maybe the Elk or the Lambs, but I still
I
feel like they're a solid team.
I would have thought that, and then he got Tank Dell, so it kind of balanced it out like a little bit.
Yeah,
I thought he
and I
had
think that
really good
Singletary is going to be fine too.
yeah, he's good floor play at the running back position. You know what you're going to get every week.
Yeah, so losing Cook isn't the end of the world, but I think there's going to be plenty of options at least to start the season. But yeah, I mean, like from a if you look at these receivers, they're pretty damn good. I mean, it's Malik Neighbors. Obviously he's looked awesome when he's been out there.
Pretty good. Hopefully, he can get the
And
ball.
yeah, we'll talk more about neighbors in a little bit here too. But obviously, Chris Olave, he's very solid.
So
That team might be trash, but he's still the best
could
option they
very
have.
possibly be concussed in a week or two. Like
maybe even right now.
right now.
Um, it's incredible how many hard hits that guy has taken. And then I also think who's the last guy on this list? I might be forgetting. Oh, it's Devonta Smith, a very solid player as well. So I mean, that's three really good receivers. Adding Tank Dell to the mix, um, and then having 6 first-round picks over the next 2 years, and
Pretty
16
good.
total premium picks, so first and second round picks
It's a
over
lot
the
of
next two
cuts.
years. A lot of cuts to be made. Like I said, an
I,
extinction might need to happen, but
I was literally one of the ways I pitched that James Cook trade to him because I'm pretty sure I traded for like a 2025 pick in that trade. I was like, you're gonna have to cut so many players. Like, do you want to push your draft capital like into the future a little bit? And like he was
you
like, yeah,
almost have to just
yeah.
because
I was
there's
like, he
just no
kind of has.
way you can fit all these guys. And I mean, I haven't had as nearly as many picks as both Tibbs and the elk have amassed here. I had like maybe just a little bit less than them, and I'm already feeling the heat. And I still have a zillion rookies, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I do not have my third and fourth rounders over the next couple years, actually, just because I just don't want to have to deal with this again because I'm already struggling as it is. So I mean, yeah, but I can find 9 cuts very easily on Dustin's roster personally as I was
Sure.
going through them. So compared to some of the other rosters, I feel like it's not as hard for those cuts. But I think that the cheese fries are gonna have a hard time in the couple days here. So, anywho, the Bombers, Muskrats, Lionheads, Battle Axes all get some votes here. What do you think, Sean, overall of those 4 teams?
I mean, I, I voted for the Elk. I just think that he's got a much more solid roster than I think he's gotten credit for. So, and like I said, all this was done before that James Cook trade. So, but even still, like I think he's got a. I think he of the bottom teams now. I think he has the best chance of like a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot, for one of those back spots. And he kind of honestly, it reminds me of my team a little bit last year where I had a very solid quarterback, kind of a lot of options at receiver. They just happened to break out at the right time. Whereas I feel like the Elk have a little bit more ready-made receivers. So I feel like, and
Mhm.
he's probably better running backs overall too, because I was starting Gus Edwards and just got lucky. But I mean, there's some similarities to him getting into the playoffs with the Armadillos from last year. So Lionheads, I do agree, like maybe up and down on the power rankings as the offseason went on, just based on some of the other actions from other teams. But yeah, I mean, if you had him as a number 5, 6 seed before, then I just don't think I think he's going to outperform that at least in the top 4, I think, this year. And of course, there's a tier list that was released today by Vince in a tremendous meme fashion. So I always love to see that. But yeah, he was also in that tier 1 that I agree with. So the Battle Axe is the only one I really can't get totally on board with here. I just don't see it, Sean. But I guess there's a chance with those 2 running backs, anything can happen, perhaps. But there's just
Yeah,
not enough depth.
nah, there really isn't.
But I mean, I can say that about the Muskrats too. So, anywho, we'll keep moving here. Which team is the most overrated as we enter the season? Sean, you
Oh,
received 3 votes.
look, I made the list.
You made the cut. The Plague also received 3 votes. The Muskrats received 2. The Lambs received 1. I'm not sure I agree on the Lambs one. I mean, I feel like he was
I mean,
appropriately ranked for most of the offseason here.
it's tough to say that now when he's like selling everybody off. Like
Yeah, I mean,
not everybody off, but
it's
like he's obviously like
people
selling.
are for sale. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was going to wait more into the season to make some of these moves, but if he's seeing the value, ready to make now, then go ahead, sure. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about you being in the top 3 here, Sean, or getting some 3 votes?
Considering the way this like survey's gone so far, I'm not surprised.
The Plague receiver is pretty.
I'll see you guys in the playoffs. It's all good.
Yeah, I like the Plague maybe being a little overrated just because of their running back situation. Of course, there's plenty of solid receivers on this team, but I am very concerned about the running backs there. So I get that one. Yeah, let's keep going here. Which team has the most top end talent? We had the cheese fries receiving 7 votes. I got a vote, which I was kind of surprised by because, I mean, I guess I have top talent at a couple positions, but not nearly as much as some other teams, I think. And then the plague receiving a vote as well. Where'd you go here, Sean?
Probably the cheese fries. I honestly don't remember, but I kind of get the plague because he's got QB1, wide receiver
Jefferson,
one,
yeah.
arguably, and Kelsey. So I mean, like that makes sense to me, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
mean, I mean, if you have the 3 best, arguably at their own positions, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And there's some other guys too, like towards the top end of this roster as well. But um, yeah, I mean, the cheese fries are just loaded, dude. I mean, they're gonna have a great year this year. I think I'd be very surprised if they weren't, there towards the end of the playoffs. But if you look at some of the top end talent on this team, with Brees Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, that's always awesome. Getting a potential top or quarterback with Richardson would be pretty sweet as well. But having Dak, and of
Maybe.
course Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, now picking up Mark Andrews. Lots going on here, Sean. There's a lot of really good players. So yeah, so I'm on board with that. Which team provides the best trade discussion experience? Which is always one of my favorite votes for the offseason. The cheese fries really do provide a great experience. He tells me that everything sounds well, and it makes me feel good. When we go into a discussion, here I'm going to talk about these specific guys, and we have a very structured organization when we do trade discussions. So I always appreciate that. And he'll provide keep trade cuts for me, so I don't have to do it. I mean, it's fantastic. So I think I voted for him. Do you remember who you voted for?
I voted for Dustin, man. Like he literally,
he's a good one.
he said literally in a text to me, he's like, "You are my favorite person to like trade talk with because you literally just send me things that I think are fair values every time." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Wow, great. Maybe you voted for each other. Who knows? That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Dustin's always a great. I mean, this whole league is awesome to work with all the time, but there's always some that really stand out to me. So I always think it's a fun question. Which team do you root for the most outside of your own? I did actually write that in the question, so you can't vote for yourself on this one. The Bombers received 3.
I don't think it matters.
I don't think it's. There's got to be one team that roots for the Boots Muskrats. Come on. I mean, there's got to be one out there. I don't know who it is.
Did his mom complete the survey? Like what?
I mean, it is. I think this year I'm going to root for them because they're just fun to watch at this point because they're turning into the Cowboys. It's just like
that's true.
It's a spectacle. So you have to at least tune in for it. So, but yes, the Bombers received 3 votes. I like to feel like I'm the president of the fan club here. So there's 2 other people on the bandwagon with me.
I voted for the Bombers too.
There you go. So somebody else, thanks for joining on the Bombers.
He's just so unlucky. It sucks.
I mean, I would put him and the Plague as my top 2. Just because the Plague just never seemed to get over that final hump. But yeah, really, really good disparity here with the votes too. Which team has the best branding and logo? This one's very spread out. I think a lot of people voted for themselves on this one as well. So, but yeah, the Lambs, cheese fries, both getting 2 votes and then 1 scattered around there. I got to tell you, the Lambs rebrand is one of my favorite ones. I feel like they went from very cartoony to very specific and very modern classic look. I'm a fan of what the Lambs did, and then the cheese fries picked up a modernized logo recently as well. So I like them both. But man, I have a hard time voting on this one, Sean. Do you have like a couple that really like stand out to you?
Not really. Like I don't think I voted for myself. I don't remember who I voted for. I do like I find the armadillo is the most pleasing, not to like blow smoke, but I just love an armadillo,
They're just fun. They're fun animals. I mean, and it's fun. I wonder if I can talk to Dan, but when we were coming up with his team, we had many potential logos and names that we were working on. We had lots of different ideas. And I think I made some mock-ups of a couple random ones we were considering, and maybe I should just post them next off season when we're bored, just to see what people would have thought of the other options. And I think I had a couple for the Lionheads as well, but we'll check something out next off season.
That sounds like some great June content.
Yeah, that's June, July content for sure. Which teams will miss the playoffs, Sean? This is total votes. So we received 36 instead of 40 because we were missing a ballot. But these were the total votes for missing the playoffs, and it seemed like we had a decent amount of consensus on the top four for vote getters. That's the Muskrats, Battle Axes, Elk, and Plague.
Wow.
I think I'd be a little surprised if one of the Elk and Plague don't make it. I feel like them both not being in the playoffs would kind of surprise me. What do you think about this list?
I feel like I need to like reevaluate Justin's team real quick. Hold on.
Well, I can give you some top guys. Let's see. So we got, like I said, the great trio of quarterbacks: Jordan Love, Joe Burrow,
Yeah, you like
Tua
that.
Tagovailoa. Then Kenny Walker.
It's the running backs that like I
Running
keep.
backs are not good, Sean.
That's why. Yeah.
And it's kind of the
Good
same
stuff.
situation as Dan, honestly. For the most part. I mean, I would say that Kenny Walker has more life at the running back position. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, you'd like to see like maybe like stronger third wide receiver if your running back situations. And I like Reed and I like Brown and Godwin, but I don't know if I like them as like a
Brian
strong
Thomas is
wide
down
receiver.
there too.
I do like that very
So I
much.
mean, there's guys that can do it. It's just like
Yeah.
who are you going to put in each week?
Oh, he's got Zeke. He's got an RB2. Never mind. He's fine.
He can function
He's
until one of those
there.
guys goes down, and then we're struggling. But I get the votes though, because I feel like they do have a weaker running back room maybe than other teams. But then the Lambs also receiving 3 votes. That might be higher now,
Sure.
depending on the trade. So who knows how that goes. But these were the top 6 vote getters here. These are all right. So this is the fun stuff, Sean. Which teams will have a breakout season on your own team? So this is who each league owner chose on their own team. So starting at the top, I chose Dalton Kincaid. I know we talked about him a little earlier, but I really feel like he's set up very nicely to be a top target getter in this offense. He was very good last year as a rookie. I think there's a lot of upside here. He's going to get plenty of work. And he's a great talent as well in the receiving game. So I just feel like he's going to have a good season this year and make good on his overall redraft value, perhaps, too. The Muskrats chose T. Higgins, Sean. This is a little surprising. I don't know if you could call it a breakout at this point, unless you think he's going for like 1,500 yards or something.
Well, I mean, if Jamar Chase doesn't want to play football, I mean, that's going to help. But it's a contract year, man.
Yeah.
Nobody plays like they do in a contract year. So we'll see. I've moved Higgins up a little bit in the last like week or so.
I mean, I feel like Higgins has like the talent to be a big time like true number one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't be totally out of the question. But I just feel like based on what we've seen, his injuries, I don't know if it's going to happen.
He's got to play the games, and Burrow's got to play the games, and that's just the part that like makes me a little nervous.
Right. Yeah. It just feels like they're both banged up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Cheese Fries chose Anthony Richardson. We definitely talked about him quite a bit. I mean,
we'll see.
This preseason game, we were talking about it just before the podcast, Sean, was very up and down. This one just about an hour ago when he was playing. First drive looked absolutely electric. Just every pass was right on the money, right down the field, threw a touchdown pass from the 10-yard line. Just awesome. And then the next drive, he throws a terrible pick six on a miscommunication with Kylan Granson. And then the next drive, he missed probably 3 open receivers on 3 straight passes. It was terrible. So, I mean, he's all over the place so far. But it's harder for me to remember. This guy's only started like 22 total games in his entire career.
If he starts every game this year, he'll match how many games he's played since the beginning of his senior year in high school.
Correct, because I saw they were showed on the screen. It was like 6 starts in high school, and then I think he only got 13 starts in college. So, 10. Or was it 10 or 13? I can't remember. But yeah, like it's just not many.
I could be wrong.
Games.
Totally wrong.
I mean, either way, it's still impressive. The guy is just he's going to be a work in progress. But if he hits, he's going to hit extremely hard, and he's going to have a huge rushing floor. So I think it's a good pick here by the Cheese Fries, who could have picked a zillion players on his team. But Richardson really has the mega upside.
Yeah. They just scream like the team that's gonna be able to beat anybody in the league this year, and then they're gonna like lose to like the Patriots or something at home.
Yeah, like the Panthers or something weird. Yeah,
like their highs and lows are gonna be crazy just because of like how much like inexperience he has at quarterback.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Leatu Latu got a nice sack earlier too, by the way.
He's great.
He's very good. That I was like looking at the defensive line, dude. They're so stacked. I mean, they have DeForest Buckner, they have Latu, they have Grover. Yep. I mean, they have just tons of great players on the line.
And they have who got hurt? Who's out for the year? Is it Luminor? No, not Luminor. He's an offensive tackle. Why can't Ebicom?
I think it was their starting or at the time it was their starting end defensive end.
Yeah,
his name.
I just opened things up more for Latu this year, I think. But so like defensive rookie of the year, like I think that's I feel like he's got to be the favorite, right?
I heard somebody say, I think it was Herb Street on the broadcast, said like if it's not out of the realm, well, I guess it is out of the realm, but like he said, it's not like completely surprising if they want offensive and defensive player of the year if you like Adonai Mitchell that much. Like it could happen. I mean, but I'm not going to say it, but to Kirk Herbstreit say it. But, I mean, he seems to really like him.
I don't see that at all, man.
I would love it. I mean,
first of all, if you're a quarterback and you play all the games, you automatically disqualify everybody else from
right. Like if Caleb Williams, to me, there's no way.
And you're going to have like 4 rookies play 13 plus games if everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean at least 4.
There's just no way. Like unless like Marv goes out and does like Puka things but more.
I mean, Neighbors could win it, no questions asked. Like he's so good.
I don't think he has a chance.
Really? Okay, I think he's got a real shot.
Puka didn't win last year.
That is absurd. That reward is just that whole award is a joke.
It's a quarterback award. Like I
would like separate it out for like the skill position.
Dude, Bo Nix is 10 times more likely to win that award than Malik Neighbors. And he's not even close to the football player that Neighbors is, but it's so stacked for quarterbacks.
It's a dumb award.
Yeah. So is MVP. It's a stupid award.
Yeah, it would be one thing if you could separate it out a little bit better, but I don't think they will. The Cheese Fries chose Jonathan Mingo. I skipped ahead by one. Sorry. Breakout season. Cheese Fries.
Kate
Otten for the Lambs here, Sean. What do you think about Kate Otten this year, Sean?
I think he's going to be like the 6th option in that offense. It doesn't matter.
I think they're going to have a decent amount of Kate Otten this year. I just think he's so solid, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough to consider a breakout.
I think all 3 wide receivers out target him, and the running backs combined probably out target him too. Pretty close, but
so you think McMillan or whoever the third guy is going to out target him?
I think so, or the combination of McMillan and Palmer if they still keep Palmer on the field. But yeah, man, he's just not like it's so hard to break out as a tight end if you're not a top 2 option on your team.
Yeah, I mean he's going to have. I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of breakout. Like he could take that next step, but maybe not. Get into.
Every time you're like he's going to break into like the top 20 tight ends in fantasy, like sure. But
I'd put him like maybe like his ceiling's like 15-ish or something like that.
Yeah, like he'd have to have like an outlier touchdown year for him to like scratch like the top 10, and that'd be like an outlier. And I just don't see that on a team with Evans and really like, frankly, a team that's probably going to take a step back this year. I doubt that they're going to have the same offensive, like maybe more efficient on the ground, but I don't think it's going to be a more explosive offense than it was last year.
I mean, they are going to a West Coast style, so there will be more shorter passes in the slot. So, I mean, I agree there might not be like those crazy, but Mike Evans always makes those crazy plays, so who knows? But they should be much better on the ground, though. Moving forward to the Lionheads, Bijan Robinson. I mean, that is a layup, but it would be a true breakout based on the usage last year. So sure,
that's a really easy one. I wonder if there's any more fun ones on this team. Let's see.
Lionheads. I mean, Ray Davis maybe.
Like that. Could have gone with like Jermaine spicy Burton. Like Jermaine Burton take or Pop Douglas. Yeah. I mean, it's such an easy choice. Like Bijan is going to be so good this year.
I mean, I think he's going to take the next step, so I'm ready for it. Curtis Samuel for the Battle Axes. I think that's an interesting choice.
Unfortunate, he probably picked that right before he got hurt, so that sucks.
Yeah, I think this was.
So we'll see how that
a week ago now. So yeah. I mean, I like Curtis Samuel this year a decent amount, but I'm not super thrilled, to be honest. I mean, the whole passing game is so weird up there right now. Long gamers, you chose Josh Palmer. I really like that one. I feel like he's gonna get targets, man, and he's really a solid player overall. I think he's got that like Godwin vibes to him. Maybe not the same value right now, but he does a lot of the same things well that Godwin does. So I'm a fan. The Bombers chose Kyle Pitts for a breakout season, which is kind of wild because he had like the second best rookie tight end season ever. And he's gonna have.
I'm ready to be hurt again.
He's ready to be hurt again. Speaking of hurt, J.K. Dobbins for the plague. He noted that in his submission, so I thought I would add that in as well. So yeah, I mean, I think Dobbins could be a lot better than what we're thinking right now. I just got to stay healthy, so that's simple.
I would probably. Do you think comeback player of the year if he stays healthy?
If he could just play every game, I'd give it to him.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even have to like 10 carries total a game, maybe or something like 10 touches a game. I'd give it to him.
It's true. Nobody died.
Guys never stay healthy,
so that helps.
Yeah. Next up is
so bad.
Which teams will have a bust season on your own team? So these were also voted by their own, by their own owners here. So I picked Gus Edwards. I feel like he got pretty lucky with injury health last year compared to like the rest of his career. And then of course, I just don't think he'll have quite the same touchdown usage. I mean, he will absolutely be the goal line back, but I just don't think it's going to be nearly as the similar volume that he had last year. So I think, based on where he's being drafted right now, I feel like there's a chance that he's the bust guy. The Muskrats chose Zach Moss, which I thought was a pretty interesting pick. He's being drafted in redraft, kind of like where I expect him to be drafted. And I had this funny thought, Sean, today that like every year there seems to be a guy in redraft that's like the starting back for his team in round 8 every single year, Sean. There's always one. Mm-hmm. And it's like, is he even good? Probably not, but he's at least the starter. So it's like, I remember it was Mike Davis.
Mike Davis, classic.
Just a classic.
Yep. I fell for that trap.
He's going to be the starter, right? Then I believe before that, there was Rashad Jennings from back in the day. Like he was the Jaguars just starting back, even though he had zero talent, and it just worked out for a little bit, but then crashed and burned. So like I could see Zach Moss in that world. But I do think Moss offers a lot on third down. I think he offers a lot on pass pro, and I feel like he's just going to be on the field. So I mean, I have a hard time believing he's going to be that bad of a bust.
I think it's going to be one of the worst running attacks in the NFL.
Interesting.
I think it's going to be pretty low volume, and I just don't like anything about the talent in that backfield. I don't really like him. I don't really love Chase Brown either. I think, and I feel pretty good about it being pretty 50-50 throughout the year. So I'd be fading both of them just a little bit based off of where they're going right now.
Yeah, they're going a little high for my liking as well. I just think there's a decent amount to like about Moss, but if you're thinking he's going to be, a ton of touches, I think you're going to be wrong probably this year.
Most of his like big games came with Anthony Richardson playing last year, and he's never finished a season healthy. I'm pretty sure when he's been like the guy, so it's tough.
He was hurt a lot,
so we'll see. Like, I mean, he's good when he plays. Like, I think he's got enough juice to be productive. I just don't know if I like the running attack there in Cincinnati.
It'll be one to watch, I think, for sure. Next up, we got the Cheese Fries choosing Jonathan Mingo, who frankly had the bust season last season. I have no expectations for Mingo. I
was gonna say, if the expectations are zero, can you bust? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't love him coming in to the draft anyway, so I mean, I was not really super high on him, but I thought he would do something last year, and he really didn't. So
I will pick a better bust candidate for him. Hold on.
I feel like he's just got such a solid team. I looked around too, and I had a hard time finding one.
Jacobs, Rashad White, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, and DJ Moore, I think, would all be candidates for me. Of where I could see it going wrong. I'm not saying they're all busting. I'm saying like I could see where it could happen.
I mean, to me, like if I had to vote for anybody else, it'd be Jacobs or Connor, just based on the overall workload they've had in their careers, injuries.
I won't play injuries into it because if you're injured, you're injured. I don't think that means you're a bust. I just like as far as like expectations for like when you're on the field. Because like if you're hurt, I'm not going to play you anyway. So it's not like you're busting on like my
True. I
starting.
mean, yeah. I mean, I disagree with you on more. I mean, Rashad White could definitely get less touches overall. I think Bucky's going to get touches, and he
I
might.
really wasn't convinced. I didn't have enough conviction last time we were talking about those two, but like honestly, like he could take over the backfield at some point.
I mean, I could see more of a 50-50 split at some point because I feel like Rashad is just so good on those third downs, and then Bucky's just fine on the first two downs. So, I mean, you could run him first two downs and then keep White fresh
I
for those swing passes.
I am
They could go a lot of ways.
I'm very curious to see White behind that offensive line now that Barton's there. I think that's
Right.
going to tell me a lot
They
of what I need
upgraded
to
for
know.
sure. Yeah, if White can prove that he's an in between the tackles runner more this year, I would feel more convicted. But I think there's just a chance that, I mean, last year there was no backup. Like they didn't have anybody. So, I mean, it was Chase Edmonds half the time. So, I mean, just to have anybody with fresh legs is going to be, and then Tucker too is probably going to make the roster. I think they're going to use more of those other guys, more than they got last year. So perhaps he's the bust overall. But
And Anthony
sorry.
Richardson, to be honest, like
Well,
that
that's
could
a
go,
huge one. Yeah.
that could go in any direction. Like it could be great. It could be a boat. But
It could be a boat. I just feel like his rushing floor is at least going to push him up. I
yeah,
mean,
there's a floor there. I based off of like where he's going redraft wise and
he's
stuff.
going very high.
It's going super high. Like I just like that's a good setup for disappointment if things don't
I mean,
go.
I took him last year and he crushed me last year. Him and Lawrence both sucked. So, I mean, that didn't work out at all. So, next up on the list, Justin Herbert. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is another bust too, because everybody's expecting a lot lower from him this year.
Yeah, I think
Kind
it's
of
like
the same way.
QB 16 or 17 in redraft. I'd like, I guess based off of like what he's shown you, like as a dynasty owner, like it can definitely be, it could definitely be a viewpoint. I don't know. I still like Herbert this year. I think they're gonna like. I'm not loving the injury, but like I still think he's gonna have to use his feet this year in that offense. And like, dude, I don't know. I could still see him throw for 4,000 yards this year. It wouldn't surprise me because their defense is terrible, and I don't think they're gonna be in the game scripts that like Harbaugh wants them to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a work in progress in LA. And I think there's going to be games where he looks really good and then other games where it's a very run heavy attack. I think it's just going to be kind of hard to predict this season, but I do like him overall. And he was one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy, a couple seasons ago. So it's there's definitely, it's not about Herbert. It's more about just the situation. So we'll have to see this year. But then next up, Lionheads choose Aaron Rodgers. Probably a vote also too for Dolphins fandom to hope that maybe he's not the guy that the Jets think they're getting. But the injury hurts, and I think I hate to say it, but like if Garrett Wilson goes down, this team is absolute. They have nothing. I mean, it's going to be a bare
Big
cupboard,
Mike Williams,
and he's hurt all the time, Sean. So I just don't feel super great about the Jets like overall. And if there's any adversity to some of these backs, to the receivers, they're going to be in trouble. And it's going to end up being like Aaron Rodgers throwing to just like one guy the entire game. So, yeah, I feel like Rodgers, but I think he's being valued pretty appropriately in redraft, though. I mean, he's going to throw for yards if he's healthy. He's Aaron Rodgers. So,
yep.
Next up, Battle Axes, Adam Thielen.
He's old.
He's old. I'm expecting a bust season, so I don't know if it's not really a bust. Like if you're projecting him for,
yeah, it's tough because like my expectations are like low. I get like he was like a wide receiver too, like halfway through the year last year, but like he did start to tank then. So
I mean, I would pick for me, I'd pick like Tony Pollard or Aaron Jones probably,
yeah,
just because like Aaron Jones is one I'm very scared of at cost currently in redraft leagues. I don't feel great. They don't run the ball a lot in Minnesota. It's a little scary.
yeah. I just like for those guys that are like so high risk, like injury wise, like it's so hard for me to say like because I don't consider them like injuries is a bust. Like I try and separate those two, which is
I
why
just
like
don't think he's
I
gonna
could
get
have
even when
easily
he's
gone
healthy.
with
He's not gonna
yeah, like I
handle
could
the
have
whole
easily
load.
gone with Kyron as my like bust
Sure.
because like if he sprains his ankle again, he's out for 5 weeks. Like obviously that's gonna hurt. Like
Right.
so I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah,
but
I mean, Jones had a little bit of that factor for me, but I still think there's just so much against him. I mean, he's old now too. I mean, just in general, he might not have the same explosiveness. Uh, Anywho, moving on to the long gamers, you chose DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, even when healthy, I don't know if this was before or after the injury. He's getting old, man, and I could see a
yeah,
world maybe it doesn't work out. But I think we've talked about it on this podcast before. There's been a lot of times where we've mentioned he's such a good just overall body control guy that even if he doesn't have separation, he's never really had it in his whole career. He just makes plays, and maybe that benefits him more as he ages. It's funny the Bombers chose Kyle Pitts for both bust and, and breakout. So I love the
that's the only player that I think you're allowed to do that with.
yeah. I don't think there's any other player in the league
One-on-one.
that fits that bill better. Yeah, I think Pitts is going to be good this year. I'm going to believe in the talent this year personally.
Yeah,
So I'll be wrong about him again, and then next year I'll be done with him if he doesn't do it. So
we got him at 7 this year. We're ready. We're ready to be
yeah, I
heard
mean I've
again.
seen anywhere between like 5 and 6, 7, something like that usually. So that makes sense. Plague picking Devontae Adams is actually a pretty good one because he's going pretty high still.
Yeah.
The expectations are still there, and Sean, this quarterback situation stinks. He might just want to be traded, which might actually be better for him at this point.
I still think there was a better candidate on his team, but I think Adams is definitely a guy that's probably not going to return on redraft investment this year. But
What would your choice have been?
Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's got a fair amount of bust potential this year, especially where he's being drafted.
I mean, Keenan Allen needed like all of like those targets to be relevant last year, and he's just not going to get anywhere close to that target share this year.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I think his efficiency, like the big play for Keenan Allen, is probably gone. I think
yeah,
he's going to be a 15 yards and in kind of guy, which he'll get targets, but it won't. I don't think he's going to match his redraft value right now.
He'll
So
be very relevant real life football on third downs, but I just don't see
like his trajectory will be going down, and Odunze should be going up, like kind of at the right time towards the end of the year.
We're getting to hot takes, right? In a
We
little
sure
bit.
are. I think it might be one of the next
I
ones.
have one that I want to add to that. But
Okay, well, I'll give you the floor in a minute here. So, name another player on your team on another team that you wish you had on your team. So,
Ben Sinnott.
Ben Sinnott got a vote, which I love because I'm a Ben Sinnott guy. But that's such a nice deep cut. I should have done that. I picked Neighbors just because I think he's really freaking good.
Yeah.
But like I probably should have gone deeper for the giggles. Yeah, there's some interesting names on here. I mean, obviously the Bijans, the Jeffersons, those are Mahomes, pretty easy choices. But I feel like Stroud, Odunze, and Sinnott are kind of the standouts on this list. Anything interest you with those guys? Obviously, I know you're a Odunze supporter.
Yeah, I mean, I was Rome. I was like, well, like if this is the way we're doing it, like I'll just pick like my favorite guy from this draft that just came out. Like he's not, I didn't have him one, but like he's just my favorite dude.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, Neighbors, and Harrison, I really just did not feel negatively about any of those guys.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any holes. I mean, other than Neighbors maybe being like more of a diva, and then maybe Odunze doesn't quite have that same like explosiveness. Like those are the only things I could find, and even then, like I don't care. So all three of those guys should be great. Yeah, not a whole lot more here. Let's see what's next on the list. All right, here you go, Sean. Here's your hot takes. All right, so there are some very interesting ones here. So we're gonna have
excited to see everybody's hot takes.
Yeah, there's a couple of teams that didn't submit any, but most of them did. So we'll start with number 1. The Cheese Fries will make a trade to get him ahead of the pack to end up backfiring and costing him the title. That's a very interesting hot take, Sean.
Wow.
So I guess he could like package up, a few players to try to go for like a big trade, and then maybe that player gets hurt or something. That's kind of like what I think is.
He pushes the chips in for Kyle Pitts.
Oh man, but he just got Mark Andrews. He doesn't need any more. All right, moving on to the next one. The Muskrats will be a bottom 2 team in record and points for. That's a
That wasn't
fun
me,
one.
but I love it. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
okay. Yeah, that's a fun one.
That's,
Yeah, I
I,
mean,
I'm gonna say that was
there,
Vince. Just for
we're talking about injuries a lot, but man, if anybody on this team goes down, they're not going to score enough points. There's just not going to be a lot of points to be made because these backups just are not that good, and sometimes there's not even a backup. I mean, literally, we only have 5, 6 receivers. I mean, it's not ideal. So I feel like I agree with this one probably the most out of most of the hot takes here. So, uh, do you have any disagreements with that?
it's definitely in the range of outcomes. I mean, like you said, the an injury. Like if
I don't feel
Mahomes
like it's
gets there,
super
he's
hot, to be
screwed.
honest.
Yeah.
It could really happen. Um, the league will have 3 new playoff teams this year. So I had to do some mental gymnastics for this one.
So Vince missed the playoffs last year, right?
Right. Vince missed. The Bombers missed. Um,
And
the Elk missed.
the Elk
And
and
who's the last one?
the
I had their
Bombers.
pick. It was Bombers. Bombers. I'll just look. Hold on. I want to make sure I get it right.
Vince, Justin, Dustin, and
Who's 4? Oh, Scavelli.
did he?
Did he miss last year? No, he didn't miss last year.
Was
Man, I'm having a hard
it
time
the
here.
Muskrats?
If you're watching live, leave a comment.
Did
It
Alex?
had to be no, it had to be the Muskrats. I had the Muskrats pick.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess, yeah, I could see it. All 4 of those teams could make it.
Dude, it's a wild game. Like that wouldn't surprise me.
It could happen. Yep. I mean, the plague dropping out is possible. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could drop out. Next up, the Panthers will finish 3rd in the NFC South. Dennis Allen fired before Week 10, and Carr is benched for Rattler.
I thought we were doing hot takes, not predicting what's going to happen this year. That feels like it's going to happen.
Does anybody hate Dennis Allen, or does he hate his players any more than anyone else?
Probably not.
Like
No,
he seems like he hates his players, dude.
Yeah.
Every time Kendre Miller comes up, it's like, dude, that guy sucks. Like A.T. Perry sucks. It's like, dude, just
Let's
chill
talk
the
about
hell out.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he loves Taysom Hill. Very great player. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the only guy he talked up this whole offseason was Mason Tipton. And then he got hurt, I think, too. So I mean, it's just that he's such an interesting guy. This team feels like they're on the verge of a giant blow up.
Smart. He doesn't talk shit about Alvin Kamara because he knows he'll beat him up.
I mean, Kamara should still be good too, though, right? Like he'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the most efficient back in New Orleans for the last 4 years, so it's not like he's always been the best one there.
Yeah,
their offense has just been terrible.
I mean, Jamal Williams is probably the number 2 at this point over Kendrick because he hasn't been healthy at all. So
yeah, and then fucking Taysom Hill,
Taysom Hill, he's gonna be the get goal line back maybe this year. Who knows?
I have him and Kamara for the same amount of rushing touchdowns this year.
Wow. Anywho, Bo Nix will be offensive rookie of the year, Sean.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you.
Mine.
Okay.
That was mine.
He's drinking. Well, geez, James will have a lot to say on this one.
Yeah. I put this in before the preseason game, too.
Wow. That's
Look
true.
At me.
Yeah, he did have a great second preseason game. I'll give him that. He's looked very good, Sean.
Genius now. I just he's going to run the offense better than Russ did last year, and Russ was a top 12 fantasy quarterback, so
he feels like such a great fit. He's so mobile. He's so athletic.
Yeah.
He might not have those huge weeks or anything, but he'll be pretty steady, I think, and he'll have his moments. But
my process of elimination was Jaden Daniels will probably get hurt because he's fucking nuts. And did you see the hit he took in the last preseason game?
He's pretty wild. But that being said, he looks nice.
Sure, yeah.
He looks nice. When he's ripping the ball down the field, he looks nice. But that's kind of all he's done his entire career. So.
Yeah, he's running quick hitches 4 yards down the field because their offensive line can only block for a second and a half.
Yeah, he just has to unload it.
He's gonna die.
I'm interested to see what this offense looks like because I just don't think this line is going to be good.
Jaden, that seems plausible to me. Caleb's the tough one. I think that's just going to have to be he turns the ball over a lot this year.
Which is very possible. I mean, I could see could see 15 picks.
Am I forgetting another starting rookie? May's probably not going to play enough games. McCarthy got hurt.
Yeah.
Penix is not going to play until 27.
So it's sitting around preseason.
It's a quarterback award, so that's where I got. That's
I mean, that's kind of it right now.
So
Harrison and Neighbors are the only other options, probably.
Yeah. That being said, I'm taking Caleb Williams with a bullet. So
Yeah, I feel like he's going to be very good. All right, next up, we got Troy Franklin leads the Broncos in targets. Yeah, this didn't age well. I don't think Franklin's like been in the first team offense one time so far. So I
I
don't feel.
think there's a better chance of him not making the team.
I don't think even if he makes the team, I just don't think there's anything for him this year. I've heard a couple of different reports saying he cannot get off press in any of the camp practices, which is exactly the problem I had. He's just too thin. Yeah, I mean he's the Robbie Anderson type, but you got to have like the finesse to get off those things, and I don't know if he has that right now. So, and that is spicy, that's for sure. Kenny Walker is RB7 or better, Sean. What do we think?
That's spicy. I like it. I mean, he's like, it was curious to see like where the new coaching staff was going to line up with like the running backs because they didn't have any like allegiances one way or another, and they seem to really like Walker. So I've moved him up in the last few days, but he's not RB7 or better for me. But like, I mean, he's an explosive runner, so it's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to be running, I mean, what Washington, their offensive coordinators, in there now in Seattle, and he ran the shit out of the ball last year. They kind of did that run and gun type offense where Dylan Johnson really carried the load. So, I mean, if that's kind of what it's going to look like, I think Walker really could do super well. And I do think he could be a top 10 back. I don't know about 7, but I like him more than his ADP is right now, probably in redraft. So I'm a fan.
Maybe I do like him better than ADP by a lot. Wow. Okay.
Dylan Lobby will look better than Zamir White, becoming KW3 Charbonnet in 2025. I don't know.
think Zamir White needs to completely win the job from fucking Alexander Madison first, because that hasn't happened either. So,
I really think the Raiders are going to stink.
They're
going to be really bad.
Their offense is going to be terrible, which doesn't make any sense because like their offensive line is like at worst probably average.
They're very solid. They have weapons. They got a couple of guys for sure.
They've got 2 very good tight ends. They've got Devontae Adams.
Myers isn't a joke either. He's very good. And they're not going to be good. No, it's kind of sad, honestly. Like, because I even think like a guy like Lobby like has some long-term potential as a third down, like, James White type back. But Zamir White is kind of also falls into that category we were just talking about earlier, where it's like that 8th round, whatever rookie, or not rookie, but just a guy at running back that gets put into a bad situation and doesn't work out. It kind of feels like that could be the case.
I just traded him away in another league. Let me show you.
And the thing is, I love Zamir White back in the day, dude. He was like a 5-star. He was nicknamed Zeus because he was so fast, so big. I mean, he still looks like he's powerful, but I just don't see the same explosiveness that he had in college, and I just don't know if it's going to work out in a full-time role like this.
I traded him away in another league, him and Marshawn Lloyd for James Conner in a 2nd-round pick, and I felt great about that.
That's an interesting trade for sure. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that too. I just feel like White is just – I feel like he is an easily replaceable back too, long term.
I feel really comfortable saying that this is probably the highest his ADP will ever be.
It would be very surprising to me. I mean, dude, they're just going to be in such bad game scripts. He doesn't play on third downs at all. I think he had 9 catches last year.
He's got 15 career catches in like 31 games.
It's not enough. I mean, I just don't think he's going to be on the field on third down at all. And if they end up in bad game scripts, he's just not. He's going to be a classic like 11 carries for like 48 yards and no catches. Like
no receiving, bad offense. Like and he's sharing carries right now in the preseason. Like,
yeah. And I saw Madison come in as RB2. I was like, oh, I didn't even know he was there. Like, he was just like, wow, this is sad.
Madison's always there.
He's just always around. Josh Jacobs will disappoint in Green Bay.
Yeah. It's tough for me because I think that's going to be my expectation, not my hot take. But based on, once again,
Josh.
Based on ADP, and we talked about Jacobs and we talked about Matt LaFleur, like I think on the last episode, about where he shares the load, man. Like he doesn't have a dominant running back, and the guy's had Derrick Henry on his team before. So like, he's not better. That guy's not better than Derrick Henry, so he's not going to get the ball 300 times.
He's not better than Derrick Henry. No. I would not take Josh Jacobs over Derrick Henry. So yeah, I mean, I feel like pretty mid on him this year. Like I feel like he's valued pretty appropriately. I just don't think it's going to be a full time gig here. It would be very surprising if he took another 300 carry season. Like it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. But I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. And Sean, that wraps up these hot takes. I know you said you had a couple extra, and we're right about an hour. So I think you got the time to lay them out if you want.
Yeah, sure. Let's start with the burning hot take. Rome Odunze is the best receiver on the Bears already.
I don't think that's.
He'll be the number one.
Man, DJ Moore is very good. I am guilty of underrating him every single year.
I love DJ Moore. I drafted him. Rome Odunze is a better prospect, and he's a better receiver right now.
I do have a better prospect
coming out. Dominate the ball.
They're both great. Like I don't want to speak bad about any of them. Like I mean, even Keenan Allen, like he's exactly like what I expect at age 32 or 3 or whatever. Like this is like they all meet my expectations so far. So I don't want to like pick and choose, I guess, on those because I just like them all.
Yeah.
The one guy I don't like this year is Cole Kmet.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, Gerald Everett is just a tight end killer.
Yeah, Gerald Everett's so bad.
But they love him.
All right. Quick rip through here. No rookie RBs will finish in the top 25 at the running back position this year, which is pretty rare to happen.
That would be pretty amazing.
But
it's very possible.
4 rookie wide receivers will have over 1,000 yards this year.
So who's the 4th?
It'll be
Worthy.
I kind of left it like open, like him, Coleman, McConkey, like one of those guys is bound to like break off. Brian Thomas. Yeah. I think all those guys get a chance.
It's a very good receiving draft.
Yeah. NFC West will have 4 top 10 offenses this year.
Wow.
Another one. Cup.
Wow.
Cup ahead of Puka end of year.
That would be a big surprise to me.
I have them back to back.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I don't think either of them are going to stay healthy the whole year.
We'll see. That's
again, I hate to project injuries, but they just feel like such obvious injury.
And then Diggs and Keenan Allen will finish outside the top 36 wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that one at all. That's probably the one like I'm truly on board with. Like out of all of them, that's the one. I don't think I don't think Diggs has it anymore. I mean, like he's still going to be fine, but his ADP is outrageous to me. Like every time I look at him, I'm like, man, he's the 3rd best receiver on his team right now, and I just don't see a ton of targets there for him. I think they're going to use the other guys way more. Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that, so I agree. All right. That's all he's. I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot in there. I mean, the NFC West one is interesting too. So, I'm not a big Seahawks guy, but I could see it, I guess. So, anywho, that's gonna wrap it up. We're about an hour right now, so we'll try to do a couple episodes next week. We might even lump in the preseason winners and the losers with debate night. We're gonna try to see if we can schedule Vince and Alex for debate night, so everybody looks forward to that. If you have any questions I put in the survey, if you have any questions you want to ask to either one of those owners, send them over. I'll try to ask them. But that's kind of what we're shooting for next week. And then we're going to be right into the season, Sean. So we're at the fun part of the year. And I've kind of decided we're going to try to do some sort of weekly show during the season. I'm going to probably say it's probably going to be on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, kind of after waivers go through and after we have a better idea of the Thursday night games as well. So we'll do like a recap, a preview of next week's game. So it should be pretty fun. So lots coming your way on the PHU Dynasty podcast, and we will see you later.